Train your mind like a millionaire, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to change your income, you've got to change your thinking. If you want to raise the level of your lifestyle, you've got to raise the level of your philosophy. Money doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your head. That's why the title of this talk is simple. Train your mind like a millionaire. Now, notice I didn't say spend like a millionaire or pretend like a millionaire. I said train, because wealth, success, freedom, they are disciplines. They are the results of ideas practiced consistently. The average person wakes up and thinks about bills. A millionaire wakes up and thinks about opportunities. The average person asks, what will I have to do today? A millionaire asks, who can I become today? You see the difference. Same world, same hours, different mindset. If you want to change your life, start with the questions you ask yourself every morning. Don't just ask, how do I get by? Ask, how can I grow? How can I serve? How can I multiply the gifts I've been given? Here's a secret: millionaires don't work harder than everyone else, but they think differently. They invest in ideas. They invest in people. Most of all, they invest in themselves. Because if you grow the person, you'll grow the results. So train your mind. Feed it with books instead of gossip. Fill it with goals instead of excuses. Guard it from negativity the way you'd guard your home from a thief. Because thoughts are seeds, and you can't plant weeds and expect roses. Now, training your mind like a millionaire doesn't mean you have to own $1 million tomorrow. It means you learn to value time, discipline, and growth as if your future depends on it, because it does. So here's my challenge every day. Ask yourself, what kind of millionaire thinking did I practice today? Maybe it was saving when you felt like spending. Maybe it was studying when you felt like scrolling. Maybe it was encouraging someone else when you didn't feel encouraged yourself. Those are millionaire habits, and habits are the raw material of destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, the goal is not just to have more, it's to become more. Because when you become more, you naturally attract more. And once your mind is trained, no one can take that wealth from you. So don't just wish for success, train for it. Train your mind like a millionaire, and one day you'll live like one. Thank you. Wealth begins in the mind, not the wallet. That single idea has transformed more lives than any dollar amount ever could. Because money is a result, not a starting point. A wallet filled with cash can vanish overnight if the person holding it doesn't have the mindset to sustain and multiply it. On the other hand, a person who has trained their thoughts, their philosophy, and their vision can start with very little and eventually build something extraordinary. The real wealth is not the number in the bank account, but the way the mind processes opportunities, decisions, and disciplines. Think about it. If money alone were the answer, lottery winners would stay rich. Yet, study after study shows that most lottery winners lose everything within a few short years. Why? Because they had money in their hands, but poverty still in their minds. The habits, the beliefs, and the disciplines of wealth were never formed. On the opposite side, there are countless stories of entrepreneurs who lost everything, sometimes multiple times, yet rebuilt it all again. The reason is simple. Once a wealthy mindset is developed, it can reproduce wealth as many times as needed. A trained mind becomes a factory of ideas, solutions, and opportunities. When you start with the mind, you build wealth from the inside out. The first step is to shift your perspective about money itself. Many people carry limiting beliefs that money is evil, that rich people are greedy, that wealth is only for the lucky or the privileged. These beliefs sabotage financial progress long before any strategy can work. If you believe deep down that money is bad, you will push it away even when it comes close. But if you believe money is a tool, neutral by itself, able to amplify good or bad depending on who holds it, you will treat it with respect, discipline, and purpose. Training your mind for wealth requires you to examine your financial philosophy. Philosophy is simply the set of ideas that guide your decisions. An average philosophy produces average results. A millionaire philosophy produces millionaire results. If your philosophy is, I'll spend whatever I make, then no matter how much you earn, you'll always be broke. But if your philosophy is, I'll invest first, save second, and spend what's left, you build a foundation that grows stronger every year. The wallet follows the mind's instruction, never the other way around. Now, consider the role of vision. Wealthy thinkers live in the world of possibilities, not limitations. Where most people see obstacles, they see opportunities. When the economy dips, most shrink back in fear. Those with wealth, trained minds lean forward, asking, where's the opportunity in this shift? They understand that the soil of crisis often grows the biggest fortunes. The only difference is how the mind interprets events. Two people can face the same challenge, but the one trained to think creatively, optimistically, and strategically will come out with more wealth than they had before. Discipline is another crucial piece. The wealthy mindset doesn't wait for motivation. It doesn't need a push from outside forces. It's trained to act consistently. A mind that understands wealth knows the value of delayed gratification. It chooses the long-term reward over the short-term thrill. That shows up in small habits: saving instead of spending, reading instead of scrolling, planning instead of drifting. These small daily choices compound into enormous results over time. The person who treats a single dollar with discipline is the same person who can handle $1 million. The wallet grows to match the discipline of the mind. Let's talk about the way a wealthy mind treats learning. Most people stop their education once school ends. But the wealthy mindset is a student for life. It knows that new information leads to new opportunities. A book can change the trajectory of your finances. A seminar can introduce you to strategies that multiply your income. A conversation with the right mentor can save you years of mistakes. Wealthy thinkers put as much priority on personal growth as they do on business growth because they know the two are inseparable. If you grow, everything around you grows. If you shrink, everything around you shrinks. Another trait of the wealthy mind is responsibility. People who never build wealth often blame everything outside themselves: the economy, the government, their boss, their upbringing. The wealthy mind says, if it's to be, it's up to me. It takes ownership, even when circumstances are unfair, even when setbacks occur. A wealthy thinker refuses to hand away control of their future. They know that blaming weakens, but responsibility strengthens. With responsibility comes the power to change, adjust, and move forward. That's a mental posture that attracts both opportunities and people who trust you. A wealthy mindset also knows the difference between consumption and investment. The average person thinks about how to spend money. The wealthy thinker asks, how can this money multiply? That doesn't just mean investing in stocks or real estate. It means investing in knowledge, relationships, and skills. It could mean spending on a course that doubles your earning potential or putting money into marketing that grows your business. The focus is always on using resources in ways that produce more value in the future. Consumption brings a fleeting moment of pleasure. Investment brings lasting growth. Another key is emotional control. Money amplifies emotions. Without training, fear and greed will drive poor decisions. A wealthy mind stays steady. It doesn't panic when the market drops, and it doesn't get reckless when profits rise. It thinks rationally when others are emotional. That stability is what allows long-term growth. Many fortunes are lost not because of lack of opportunity, but because of impulsive choices made in moments of emotion. Training your mind means mastering patience, mastering calm, and mastering the discipline of making decisions from principles rather than moods. Environment also plays a huge role in shaping the wealthy mindset. People with a wealthy way of thinking are careful about who they spend time with. They surround themselves with those who stretch them, challenge them, and inspire them to grow. The average thinker spends time with average minds, reinforcing average ideas. The wealthy thinker builds a circle where conversations revolve around opportunities, ideas, and strategies rather than complaints, gossip, and distractions. Your environment feeds your mind, and your mind shapes your wealth. The wealthy mindset also carries an understanding of value. Income is nothing more than the reflection of value delivered. The more value you bring to the marketplace, the more wealth you attract. That's why wealthy thinkers focus less on what can I earn and more on what can I contribute. They look for ways to solve problems, meet needs, and improve lives. When you train your mind to constantly look for value creation, you open endless doors to wealth. It shifts you from a mindset of scarcity, fighting over a limited pie, to a mindset of abundance, where the pie can grow as large as your creativity allows. Another important element is resilience. A wealthy mindset doesn't crumble under failure. It understands failure as part of the process. Every setback becomes data, a lesson to refine the approach. That resilience is what allows someone to keep moving forward when others quit. The wallet may take a hit, the business may take a hit, but the mind remains unshaken, ready to rebuild stronger than before. True wealth is knowing that even if everything external were stripped away, you still carry the capacity to recreate it. That confidence is priceless. Lastly, the wealthy mind is deeply connected to purpose. Wealth by itself is hollow, but wealth connected to a mission, to contribution, to legacy. That's where true fulfillment comes. A wealthy thinker doesn't train the mind just to gather riches, but to use those riches for impact. That purpose drives discipline, creativity, and resilience. When your mind is anchored in something bigger than yourself, the pursuit of wealth becomes sustainable, meaningful, and powerful. Millionaires ask better questions that lead to better results. The quality of your life is often determined by the quality of the questions you consistently ask yourself. Questions are the mind's steering wheel. They direct attention, they determine focus, and they shape the decisions that follow. If your questions are small, your results will be small. If your questions are expansive, your results will grow to match them. Wealthy people have learned that asking themselves the right questions creates clarity, direction, and opportunity, while poor questions create confusion, hesitation, and limitation. Consider the most common questions people ask daily. How can I get through this day? How can I pay these bills? Why does this always happen to me? Those questions focus the mind on survival, scarcity, and victimhood. The answers they generate reinforce the struggle. If you ask, why can't I ever get ahead? The brain will dutifully provide a list of reasons, none of which will empower you. But millionaires ask questions from a completely different place. Instead of, why can't I get ahead? They ask, how can I multiply my income streams? Instead of, how do I pay the bills? They ask, how do I create assets that pay the bills for me? Instead of, why does this happen to me? They ask, what is this teaching me, and how can I use it? By changing the question, they change the trajectory of their lives. The wealthy mindset uses questions as tools to unlock potential. For example, when faced with a challenge, the average thinker might ask, how do I avoid this problem? A wealthy thinker instead asks, how do I solve this problem in a way that creates value for others? That subtle shift is the difference between retreating and innovating. Problems become opportunities because the question frames them that way. Many businesses have been born out of someone asking, how can I make this easier, faster, or more affordable for people? Those are millionaire questions because they lead directly to solutions that attract wealth. Questions also reveal priorities. If most of your mental energy is spent on, how can I have more fun this weekend? You'll design a life around entertainment. But if your primary questions are, how can I grow my skills? Or how can I increase my contribution? Then wealth and progress naturally follow. Millionaires discipline themselves to ask questions that keep their focus on growth, contribution, and multiplication rather than distraction and consumption. It's not that they never relax or enjoy life. It's that the dominant questions guiding their days align with building something greater, not just satisfying immediate urges. Another critical area where questions shape results is in the realm of possibilities. Average thinkers limit themselves with questions like, can I really do this? Or do I deserve this? A wealthy thinker asks instead, what would it take to achieve this? The difference may seem small, but it's enormous. Can I? Implies doubt and often ends with, probably not. What would it take? Assumes that it is possible and immediately shifts the mind into solution mode. One kind of question closes the door, the other opens it wide. Think about the way millionaires approach goals. They rarely ask, is this realistic? Instead, they ask, if it were possible, what steps would I take to get there? That type of questioning invites creativity, strategy, and bold action. Asking, is it realistic, often shuts down imagination before it begins. But asking, what steps would make it possible, creates momentum. Over time, this difference in questioning builds entirely different lives. One life becomes boxed in by limits, the other life is expanded by possibilities. Another kind of powerful question millionaires ask is about leverage. The average thinker asks, how can I get this done? The wealthy thinker asks, who can help me get this done? Or, what system can I build so this gets done without me? The first question traps the person in endless business, while the second leads to delegation, teamwork, and systems. Key ingredients for wealth. A wealthy life is not built on doing everything yourself, but on asking the questions that allow you to scale your time, resources, and energy. Questions also direct focus toward learning and self-improvement. Millionaires ask, what am I missing? Or, what can I learn from this? Average thinkers ask, why did I fail? And often stop there. The wealthy thinker reframes failure as feedback through better questioning. Instead of, why did I fail? They ask, what can I adjust next time to increase my chances of success? That single shift transforms setbacks into stepping stones. It's not that wealthy people avoid mistakes. They simply extract lessons from them by asking questions that create growth rather than shame. Consider also the power of future-oriented questions. Many people ask, what do I need to do this week to survive? Millionaires ask, where do I want to be in 5 years? And what must I do this week to move closer to it? The second question connects present actions with long-term vision. It gives meaning to discipline, making it easier to say no to short-term temptations. Every great achievement begins with someone asking a powerful question about the future. These questions act like a compass, pointing decisions toward a desired destination rather than leaving them scattered. The wealthy mindset also asks questions of abundance, not scarcity. Scarcity questions sound like, how can I cut back even more? Or what do I have to sacrifice? Abundance questions sound like, how can I earn more? How can I expand this? How can I turn one into many? Scarcity questions shrink possibilities. Abundance questions expand them. That's why two people in the same financial situation can have completely different outcomes. One spends life-shrinking expenses until there's nothing left to cut, while the other asks how to increase income and ends up with growing wealth. Another valuable aspect of millionaire questioning is about people. Average thinkers might ask, why are people so difficult? Wealthy thinkers ask, how can I understand people better? Or how can I serve people in a way that benefits us both? Those kinds of questions build trust, relationships, and networks that multiply opportunities. Wealth flows through people, so the better questions you ask about people, the stronger your financial future becomes. Millionaires understand that the right connections often open doors faster than years of effort alone. Asking, who can I connect with today who aligns with my goals, creates momentum that few other habits can match. Millionaire questions also stretch imagination. They often ask, what would I do if I weren't afraid? Or what's the boldest move I could make right now? Fear is natural, but the right question can override fear and ignite courage. By challenging themselves with bold questions, wealthy thinkers take actions others avoid, and those actions create extraordinary results. They do not wait until fear disappears. They ask themselves the questions that make fear manageable and possibility more compelling. Questions are not only for big goals, they also shape daily habits. The average person may ask, what do I feel like doing today? A wealthy thinker asks, what must I do today to align with my vision? The first question leaves your life to the mercy of moods. The second question roots your life in discipline. Over months and years, the difference is profound. Wealth is built not on occasional bursts of effort, but on consistent, disciplined actions guided by clear questions that keep you aligned. Questions also influence how you view money itself. Many people ask, how can I spend this? Millionaires ask, how can I make this money work for me? The former question empties the wallet. The latter question grows it. Some ask, how much does this cost? While wealthy thinkers ask, what is the return on this investment? One focuses on loss, the other on gain. By training yourself to ask wealth-focused questions about money, you begin to see opportunities where others see only expenses. The questions millionaires ask themselves also protect their mindset. In moments of negativity, they don't ask, why is everything going wrong? Instead, they ask, what's good here that I can build on? Or, what's one step I can take right now to shift this situation? These questions redirect the mind away from despair toward action. They guard the mental space where solutions are born. Over time, this practice creates resilience and optimism, which attract opportunities that others miss. Even when it comes to time, millionaires frame their questions differently. Average people ask, how can I kill time? Wealthy thinkers ask, how can I invest this hour in a way that pays me back later? This reframe turns idle moments into productive opportunities. Reading, networking, strategizing, or even resting intentionally becomes an investment, not wasted time. Every hour is measured by its potential return, not by its ability to numb boredom. In essence, the difference between average and wealthy thinkers is not just in the answers they find, but in the questions they choose to ask. Questions plant seeds. Poor questions plant weeds of doubt, limitation, and fear. Wealthy questions plant seeds of growth, vision, and abundance. Whatever grows in your life begins first with the questions you consistently ask yourself. Invest in yourself before you invest in anything else. This is the principle that separates those who build lasting wealth from those who constantly chase it without results. The greatest asset you will ever own is not real estate, not stocks, not a business, not even gold. It is you. Your mind, your skills, your habits, your energy, your creativity, and your ability to solve problems are the foundation on which all other investments rest. If you neglect to invest in yourself, every other investment is fragile. But if you prioritize building yourself, you become the kind of person who can rebuild wealth no matter what happens. Too often, people get excited about investing in things outside themselves without first laying the foundation. They want to trade in the stock market, start businesses, or buy property, but they have not invested in learning financial literacy, in strengthening discipline, in building networks, or in developing the mindset required to manage those opportunities. As a result, they may make money quickly but lose it just as quickly. Without the inner foundation, outer success collapses. But when you develop yourself first, you gain the capacity to recognize opportunities, to sustain success, and to multiply results over time. Investing in yourself begins with knowledge. Wealthy thinkers understand that information is leverage. They are avid readers, listeners, and learners. They devour books on business, leadership, finance, and personal development. They attend seminars, hire coaches, seek mentors, and immerse themselves in environments where growth is unavoidable. They understand that one idea from a book could save them years of mistakes. One piece of advice from the right mentor could make the difference between stagnation and exponential growth. The best investment is always the one that makes you smarter, sharper, and more capable of making informed decisions. But self-investment is not just about knowledge. It is also about skill. Skills are assets, and the more valuable your skills, the more valuable you become in the marketplace. Millionaires constantly ask themselves, what skill would increase my value? For some, it may be learning to negotiate. For others, it might be communication, leadership, sales, or technology. Each new skill increases earning power. Every skill compounds with others to make you more irreplaceable, more resourceful, and more capable of creating wealth. The poor mindset waits for someone else to pay for training or education, while the wealthy mindset invests in learning and skill building without hesitation, knowing the returns will be immeasurable. Investing in yourself also means developing your health. What good is wealth if you lack the energy to enjoy it? Millionaires understand that their physical body is a key asset. They invest in nutrition, fitness, sleep, and recovery because they know that energy is the fuel for productivity, creativity, and resilience. A tired, unhealthy body limits the capacity to build and sustain wealth. Meanwhile, a body filled with energy and strength allows a person to show up consistently, make sharper decisions, and handle challenges with greater stamina. Every workout, every healthy meal, every moment of rest is an investment in future performance. Another form of self-investment is emotional mastery. Emotions drive decisions, and decisions drive results. If fear, anger, or insecurity control you, your wealth will be fragile. Millionaires invest time and resources into learning how to regulate emotions, stay calm under pressure, and respond rationally instead of reactively. They may practice meditation, journaling, or other methods of reflection. They seek therapy or coaching when needed. They know that emotional stability is as valuable as financial stability because the person who can remain steady in a storm can make the decisions that lead to long-term success. Investing in yourself also means upgrading your environment. Surroundings influence thoughts, habits, and expectations. Millionaires consciously place themselves in environments that push them to grow. They spend time with mentors, peers, and friends who challenge them, inspire them, and encourage higher standards. They invest in memberships, networks, and communities that give them access to new ideas and opportunities. They are careful about who they allow to speak into their lives, knowing that voices of doubt, fear, and negativity can derail progress. A person is shaped by the company they keep, and wealthy thinkers make sure that investment in their circle is strategic. Another critical investment is in mindset itself. The thoughts you think daily either limit you or liberate you. Millionaires invest in developing beliefs that support success rather than sabotage it. They invest in affirmations, in mental training, in surrounding themselves with stories of possibility and achievement. They guard their minds against negativity and scarcity thinking. They invest in gratitude and vision, knowing that the mind that expects abundance attracts it, while the mind that dwells in lack repels it. Your mindset is the lens through which you see opportunities, and the wealthiest individuals ensure that lens is polished and clear. Self-investment also shows up in the way millionaires treat their time. Time is the most valuable currency, and wealthy thinkers invest in learning how to manage it effectively. They buy back their time by outsourcing tasks, delegating responsibilities, and creating systems. They invest in planners, productivity tools, and strategies that allow them to focus on high-value activities rather than getting trapped in low-value business. They understand that protecting their time is protecting their future, and every hour spent on personal growth, skill building, or strategic thinking is an investment that compounds for decades. Investing in yourself requires financial sacrifice at times. It may mean spending money on courses instead of entertainment. It may mean buying books instead of gadgets, attending a seminar instead of going on vacation. But those temporary sacrifices lead to long-term freedom. Millionaires know that the return on self-investment is infinite. The money spent on self-development always comes back multiplied in the form of better decisions, higher income, stronger relationships, and greater opportunities. The poor mindset looks only at the cost. The wealthy mindset looks at the return. Another key aspect of self-investment is confidence. True confidence is not arrogance. It is the result of preparation, growth, and competence. The more you invest in learning, in practicing, in refining your craft, the more confident you become. That confidence shows up in every negotiation, every presentation, every business deal. It attracts trust, and trust attracts wealth. Millionaires invest in developing their confidence because they know that opportunities flow to those who radiate competence and certainty. Self-investment also means healing and growth in areas that may not seem directly connected to money. Many people carry limiting stories, past wounds, and unresolved patterns that quietly sabotage their success. Millionaires are willing to invest in personal development that clears these obstacles. They may hire coaches or counselors, read books on psychology, or attend retreats that help them grow emotionally and spiritually. They know that wealth is holistic and that unresolved issues in one area of life can create blockages in another. By investing in healing, they free themselves to pursue success without self-sabotage. Millionaires also invest in creativity. Creativity is the engine of innovation, and innovation drives wealth. They nurture their creative side, whether through hobbies, brainstorming sessions, or simply giving themselves time to think deeply. They invest in travel, exposure to new cultures, and experiences that broaden their perspectives. They understand that fresh ideas often come from outside their usual environment, and they treat creativity as a muscle to be strengthened. The more creative you become, the more solutions you can generate, and the more wealth you can attract. Investing in yourself also requires accountability. Millionaires often pay for accountability because they know it accelerates progress. They hire coaches not just for knowledge, but to keep them on track. They join masterminds where peers hold them responsible for commitments. They understand that without accountability, even the best intentions can fade. By investing in structures of accountability, they ensure that self-development translates into real-world results. Another overlooked area of self-investment is communication. The ability to express ideas clearly, to inspire others, to negotiate effectively, and to persuade is one of the most valuable assets a person can develop. Millionaires often invest in public speaking courses, writing workshops, or sales training to sharpen their communication. They know that opportunities often flow to the person who can communicate vision with clarity and conviction. A brilliant idea poorly communicated remains hidden, but even an average idea well communicated can move mountains. Finally, investing in yourself requires patience and consistency. It is not a one-time event, but a lifelong commitment. Millionaires treat self-investment as a daily practice. They feed their minds, challenge their bodies, stretch their skills, and expand their networks continuously. They understand that the compound effect works not only with money, but with personal growth. Small daily investments in yourself accumulate into extraordinary results over years and decades. Guard your mind. Thoughts are seeds of destiny. Everything you allow to take root in your mind eventually grows into the harvest of your life. A thought may seem small, harmless, fleeting, but like a seed, once planted it begins to develop roots, then sprouts, then branches, and finally bears fruit. If the seed is healthy, it grows into a tree of strength, abundance, and opportunity. If the seed is toxic, it grows into weeds of fear, doubt, and limitation. Wealthy people understand this principle deeply, which is why they protect the environment of their minds with greater vigilance than they protect their bank accounts. They know that guarding the mind is the first step to guarding the future. Most people underestimate the power of a single thought. They believe that because a thought is invisible, it has little impact. Yet every invention, every business, every empire, every fortune began as nothing more than a thought. Likewise, every failure, every downfall, every wasted life began with a thought left unchallenged. The mind does not care what kind of seed it receives. It will grow whatever is planted. That is why wealthy thinkers are deliberate about what enters their minds. They are careful about the conversations they entertain, the media they consume, the people they listen to, and even the inner dialogue they allow. Guarding your mind begins with awareness. The average person goes through life absorbing whatever thoughts come their way without questioning them. They watch hours of negative news, listen to complaints, rehearse worries, and wonder why their lives feel heavy and hopeless. Wealthy thinkers are aware of the diet of their minds. Just as you would not eat spoiled food every day and expect health, you cannot feed your mind with negativity every day and expect prosperity. What you consistently allow into your thoughts shapes your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. The thoughts you permit define the standards of your life. For example, if you allow the thought, "I'll never get ahead," it becomes a belief. Once it is a belief, it dictates your actions. You stop trying, you accept less, you hesitate to take risks. The outcome becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the other hand, if you plant the thought, "I am capable of finding opportunities," that thought becomes a belief, which drives you to search, experiment, and take action until you succeed. Guarding your mind means consciously choosing which thoughts get to stay and which must be rejected. Wealthy individuals treat their minds like valuable gardens. They know weeds will always try to grow, but they don't let them take over. When a weed appears, whether it's fear, envy, doubt, or worry, they pull it out quickly. They replace it with intentional thoughts of abundance, possibility, and gratitude. This daily discipline keeps their mental soil fertile for wealth and growth. Poor thinkers, on the other hand, let weeds multiply until they choke out all possibility. The difference is not in circumstances, but in the care given to the garden of the mind. Another dimension of guarding your mind is the influence of people. The voices around you become the thoughts inside you. Spend time with complainers and you'll find yourself thinking in complaints. Spend time with dreamers and you'll start thinking in visions. Millionaires understand that association is never neutral. It either lifts you or lowers you. They deliberately place themselves among those whose thoughts elevate them, challenge them, and expand them. Guarding your mind often means guarding your company, being selective about who gets access to your mental space. Words are another form of seeds. What you say repeatedly, you eventually believe. Wealthy people guard their speech because they know it feeds their own mind as much as others. They avoid declaring limitations. They avoid careless self-deprecation. They avoid words that reinforce fear. Instead, they speak possibility, vision, and strength. Their words water the seeds of success they want to grow. An undisciplined tongue can sabotage the mind, but disciplined words can reinforce focus and resilience. Guarding your mind also requires you to set boundaries with media. The modern world constantly bombards us with information, most of it negative or distracting. A mind that is left unguarded becomes filled with fear from the news, envy from social media, and confusion from endless opinions. Wealthy thinkers know they cannot control everything that comes their way, but they can control what they dwell on. They consume selectively, feeding on content that inspires, educates, and empowers them. They turn down the noise and turn up the voices that strengthen their vision. The thoughts you entertain in solitude are equally important. Many people sabotage themselves not through outside voices, but through their own inner dialogue. They repeat to themselves phrases like, "I'm not good enough. I always fail. I can't change." These inner scripts shape their reality. Guarding your mind means challenging those scripts, rewriting them with intentional statements of capability, possibility, and growth. It does not mean pretending that challenges don't exist, but it does mean refusing to let limiting narratives dominate your thoughts. Another aspect of guarding your mind is focusing on gratitude. A mind filled with gratitude cannot be easily overtaken by negativity. Gratitude shifts attention from lack to abundance, from complaints to opportunities. Millionaires practice gratitude because it conditions their minds to see possibilities where others see problems. Gratitude is not passive. It actively rewires the brain to expect good, to recognize blessings, and to remain hopeful. This mindset draws in more reasons for gratitude, creating a cycle of abundance. Guarding your mind also requires discipline and imagination. The imagination is powerful. It can either create visions that pull you forward or fears that hold you back. Wealthy individuals train their imagination to focus on visions of success, contribution, and achievement. They use visualization as a tool to rehearse their future, seeing themselves already operating at the level they aspire to. This mental rehearsal strengthens belief, sharpens focus, and directs behavior. On the other hand, an unguarded imagination runs wild with worst-case scenarios, fueling anxiety and paralysis. Guarding the mind means choosing to use imagination as a servant of destiny rather than a prison of fear. Habits of thought eventually become habits of action. That is why millionaires establish rituals that condition their minds daily. They may read affirmations in the morning, journal their goals, meditate to center themselves, or review their vision before bed. These are not empty routines, but deliberate acts of mental protection. They are planting seeds of clarity and strength each day so that weeds of distraction and doubt cannot take root. The average person neglects this practice and allows the day to dictate their mindset, but wealthy individuals dictate the day by preparing their minds first. Guarding the mind also involves filtering criticism. Feedback can be valuable, but not all criticism deserves a home in your thoughts. Many never reach their potential because they internalize negative words spoken over them. Wealthy thinkers listen selectively. They weigh criticism carefully. If it's constructive, they learn from it. If it's destructive, they discard it. They don't allow the careless words of others to poison their inner world. Guarding your mind means keeping out not only your own doubts, but also the doubts of others that don't serve your growth. Resilience is another fruit of a guarded mind. When setbacks occur, an unguarded mind fills with despair and quits. A guarded mind acknowledges the pain but refuses to surrender. It asks empowering questions like, "What can I learn from this? And how do I move forward stronger?" Wealthy people guard their minds so carefully that even in crisis, their dominant thoughts are of possibility and recovery, not defeat. That resilience allows them to rebuild, adapt, and eventually thrive where others give up. Guarding your mind also means being intentional with focus. Whatever you focus on expands. If you constantly focus on problems, they grow larger in your perception. If you focus on solutions, those solutions grow stronger. Millionaires discipline themselves to focus on opportunities, on what they can control, and on what they want to create. They refuse to waste mental energy on things outside their control. This selective focus is one of the strongest forms of mental guarding because it channels thought energy into productive directions. The mind is like a bank account. Whatever you deposit, you will eventually withdraw. If you deposit worry, fear, and doubt, that's all you'll be able to draw on when you need strength. If you deposit faith, knowledge, and determination, those are the resources available in times of challenge. Guarding your mind means being intentional about every deposit. You choose what to store, knowing it will shape what you can later spend. Habits create the millionaire mindset. Wealth is not the result of one lucky break, one brilliant decision, or one extraordinary event. It is the cumulative effect of daily actions repeated consistently over time. The small things you do every day, almost without thinking, shape who you become and what you achieve. A millionaire is not created overnight by a sudden windfall. A millionaire is created through the repeated practice of habits that compound into extraordinary results. Your habits are the architecture of your destiny. If your habits are aligned with growth, discipline, and focus, wealth will eventually follow. If your habits are shaped by distraction, procrastination, and inconsistency, poverty is inevitable no matter how much talent or opportunity you possess. Most people misunderstand habits. They think habits are just about discipline in big areas like saving money or working hard, but habits run deeper. They determine how you think, how you react, how you make decisions, how you treat people, and how you spend your time. Wealthy thinkers recognize that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced daily, while failure is a few errors in judgment repeated daily. The person who chooses to read for an hour each morning instead of scrolling through social media may not see results instantly, but over months and years, the accumulated knowledge transforms them into someone capable of creating wealth. On the other hand, the person who consistently chooses distraction may not notice the cost immediately, but eventually they find themselves stuck with little progress to show. Habits create momentum. Once established, they carry you forward almost automatically. This is why millionaires place so much emphasis on developing the right habits early and protecting them fiercely. They know that once a habit is ingrained, it requires little effort to maintain, yet it delivers tremendous results over time. For example, the habit of saving a portion of every dollar earned builds wealth regardless of income level. At first it seems small and insignificant, but as the habit compounds, it becomes the foundation for financial freedom. Habits may be small in the moment, but they are monumental in their long-term impact. The key to creating millionaire habits is intentionality. Most people form habits by accident. They do what feels convenient or comfortable until it becomes routine. Millionaires form habits by design. They study the behaviors that lead to success and deliberately build them into their lives. They treat their habits like investments, knowing each one carries a return. They ask themselves, what daily practices will make me wealthier, stronger, smarter, more disciplined? Then they commit to them until they become automatic. Their habits are not left to chance, but shaped by vision. Habits also shape identity. Every time you repeat a habit, you cast a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. If you habitually procrastinate, you reinforce the identity of someone who avoids responsibility. If you habitually wake up early and pursue growth, you reinforce the identity of someone who is disciplined and focused. Millionaires understand that wealth flows to identity. If your identity is aligned with discipline, contribution, and growth, wealth is attracted to you. If your identity is aligned with laziness, excuses, and consumption, wealth will slip away no matter how much comes your way. Habits are the mechanism through which identity is built. One of the most powerful millionaire habits is consistency. Wealth is rarely about doing extraordinary things once. It is about doing ordinary things consistently. Saving, investing, reading, exercising, networking, done daily, produce massive results over time. Consistency transforms actions into character and character into destiny. The person who is consistent will always outpace the person who is sporadically brilliant. Millionaires cultivate consistency by turning important behaviors into non-negotiable routines. They do not wait for motivation. Their habits carry them when motivation fades. Another vital habit is focus. Distraction is the enemy of wealth, and the modern world is filled with distractions. Millionaires develop the habit of focus, setting aside time for deep work, guarding their attention from interruptions, and prioritizing tasks that matter most. They train themselves to say no to opportunities that do not align with their vision. This habit of focus compounds into productivity that others cannot match. While the average person scatters their energy across countless trivial pursuits, the millionaire channels energy into the few things that make the biggest difference. Millionaire habits also include financial discipline. They have routines around budgeting, saving, and investing. They treat money with respect, tracking where it goes and ensuring it is aligned with their goals. They make a habit of living below their means so they can invest the difference. They practice delayed gratification, choosing long-term freedom over short-term pleasure. These habits are not glamorous, but they create the foundation for extraordinary financial outcomes. Wealth is not the result of one giant deal, but of disciplined financial habits practiced over decades. Another cornerstone habit is lifelong learning. Millionaires read, study, and grow continually. They have made learning a daily ritual, not an occasional activity. They understand that knowledge is capital, and the more they invest in learning, the more opportunities they see. A book a week, a seminar each month, ongoing mentorship, these habits expand their thinking and sharpen their skills. Over time, the habit of learning compounds into wisdom, and wisdom compounds into wealth. Millionaires also build habits of health. They exercise regularly, eat mindfully, and prioritize rest. They know their body is the vehicle for their wealth, and they protect it accordingly. A habit of morning workouts sharpens discipline for the entire day. A habit of proper nutrition fuels energy for productivity. A habit of rest and recovery ensures longevity. The wealthy do not see health as optional, they see it as an essential investment. These habits extend their capacity to work, think, and create over decades rather than burning out early. Another habit is intentional reflection. Millionaires often take time daily or weekly to reflect on their progress, their goals, and their challenges. They ask themselves what is working, what is not, and how they can improve. This habit of reflection prevents them from drifting through life on autopilot. It keeps them aligned with their vision and allows for constant adjustment. Most people never pause long enough to evaluate their trajectory, but millionaires make it a habit to reflect and refine. Habits of resilience are equally critical. Millionaires have trained themselves to respond to setbacks with action rather than despair. They habitually look for lessons in failure rather than excuses. They rise quickly after disappointments because bouncing back has become automatic for them. This resilience is not just a character trait, it is a cultivated habit. Every time they choose persistence over quitting, they reinforce the habit of resilience until it becomes second nature. Habits also govern how millionaires interact with others. They practice gratitude, generosity, and respect consistently. They write thank you notes, acknowledge others' contributions, and make time to nurture relationships. These habits of relational wealth create networks of trust and goodwill that eventually translate into financial wealth. The habit of treating people well compounds into opportunities, partnerships, and collaborations that open doors money alone could never open. Millionaire habits also extend into vision. They have the practice of setting goals, reviewing them, and keeping them in front of their minds daily. They habitually visualize the future they want, reinforcing their belief that it is possible. By making vision a habit, they align their thoughts, actions, and emotions with their desired outcomes. This keeps them motivated and moving forward when challenges arise. The habit of vision creates clarity, and clarity creates momentum. Another powerful habit is discipline with time. Millionaires have routines that maximize their most productive hours. Many of them rise early, not because it is fashionable, but because it gives them quiet time to focus before the world demands their attention. They habitually schedule their days, prioritize their top tasks, and eliminate wasted hours. They understand that time is wealth, and that the habit of using it wisely is one of the greatest predictors of success. Even generosity can be a habit. Millionaires often give regularly, whether through donations, mentorship, or service. This habit not only benefits others but reinforces in their own minds the belief in abundance. When giving becomes habitual, scarcity loses its grip. Generosity as a habit creates a flow of value outward, which often attracts more value back in. It also builds fulfillment, making wealth meaningful rather than empty. Habits are powerful because they operate beneath conscious thought. Once established, they require little willpower. This is why forming millionaire habits early is so critical. They create a foundation that operates automatically, guiding decisions and behaviors without constant struggle. Habits become the invisible architecture of success, shaping every aspect of life without needing daily effort to maintain. The difference between success and failure often comes down not to talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but to habits. The same 24 hours is given to every person, but how those hours are structured determines destiny. Millionaires build habits that direct those hours toward growth, contribution, and wealth. They know that their future is hidden in their daily routine. By mastering the small things, they eventually master the big things.